foggy lenses, flickering bulbs, dim headlights that barely light the road, a bulb that burns out within days of replacing it. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and none of it means your headlights are actually dead. This video breaks down 10 things to check and fix before spending a single dollar on a replacement. Think your headlight is done for? The real problem might be something you can fix in your driveway for less than $5. Number 10. Check the fuse before anything else. You walk out to your car and one of your headlights is out. So you do what most people do. Head to the auto parts store, buy a new bulb, spend 20 minutes installing it, and flip the switch. Still nothing. That's the moment to stop and check the fuse instead of buying a second bulb. Every headlight in your car runs through a dedicated fuse, and when it blows, zero power reaches the bulb no matter how new it is. Your fuse box is usually under the dashboard or near the battery under the hood. The cover has a diagram showing which fuse is which. Pull the headlight fuse out and hold it up to the light. If the thin wire inside is snapped or burnt, that's your answer. A replacement fuse costs less than $1, and it's the one thing almost everyone skips before assuming the worst. Number 9. Check the electrical connector before blaming the bulb. Fuse checked out fine. New bulb installed. Still no light. At this point, most drivers start imagining expensive problems, bad wiring, a faulty switch, a trip to the mechanic. But there's one more spot worth checking first: the electrical connector behind the headlight. This is the small plug joining the wiring harness to the bulb, and over time, heat and moisture cause corrosion to build up on the metal pins inside. That corrosion blocks the power flow completely, even with a perfectly good bulb sitting in the socket. Unplug the connector and look closely at the pins. Green or white buildup means corrosion is your problem. A bit of electrical contact cleaner and a light scrub with a wire brush usually clears it right up. Reconnect it, and in most cases, the headlight comes straight back on no new parts, no mechanic, just a connector that needed a clean. Number 8. Check for a loose or corroded ground wire. A bad ground wire might be the most misdiagnosed headlight problem out there. It causes flickering, random dimness, and outages that come and go without warning symptoms nearly identical to a dying bulb. Most drivers replace the bulb 2 or 3 times before anyone thinks to look elsewhere. The ground wire completes the electrical circuit, running from the headlight down to a bolt point on the car's metal frame. When that connection corrodes or loosens, the circuit becomes unstable even though nothing is technically broken. Trace the wire behind the headlight housing to where it bolts to the body, clean the contact point with a bit of sandpaper, and tighten the bolt back down firmly. In most cases, that's the end of the flickering. No parts, no diagnostic fee, just a bolt that needed attention. Number 7. Never touch a halogen bulb with bare hands. A brand new bulb that burns out within days isn't necessarily defective. It might have been handled wrong. Halogen bulbs run extremely hot, and the natural oil from your fingers leaves a residue on the glass the moment you touch it barehanded. Once the bulb heats up, that oil creates an uneven hot spot on the glass, weakening it at that exact point until it fails early, sometimes within the first week. Nothing about the bulb looks wrong when you install it, which is why most people assume they got a bad one and grab another, touching it the same way and repeating the cycle. The fix takes seconds. Handle bulbs only with a clean cloth or gloves, and if you do touch the glass by accident, wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol before installing. It costs nothing and is the difference between a bulb lasting 2 years or 2 weeks. Number 6. Use a hairdryer to clear internal moisture. A foggy-looking headlight from the inside looks like a serious problem, but it usually isn't. Headlight housings aren't fully sealed. They have small vent holes built in on purpose to let air circulate as the bulb heats and cools. That same airflow lets moisture in, especially after rain or in humid weather, and it condenses on the inside of the lens once temperatures drop. Most drivers assume this means the housing is cracked or the unit needs replacing entirely. The actual fix is to point a hairdryer on low or medium heat at the vent holes on the back of the housing for several minutes. The warm air pulls the moisture back out the same way it got in. No tools, no disassembly, no cost at all. If the fog keeps returning within a few days, that's a sign the seal needs attention, which a couple of the next tips cover directly. Number 5. Clean the lens with toothpaste. A yellow, hazy headlight lens looks like a dead unit, but in most cases it's just sun damage sitting on the surface. Years of UV exposure oxidize the outer layer of the plastic, cutting your light output significantly even though everything underneath is fine. Most people assume that kind of haze means the whole housing needs replacing. It doesn't. Regular white toothpaste contains the same mild abrasives used to polish tooth enamel, and those same compounds buff away the oxidized layer on plastic. Rub a generous amount onto the lens with a damp cloth in small circles, covering the full surface, then rinse it clean. The difference is immediate and dramatic on lenses with moderate yellowing, and it costs nothing beyond what's already in your bathroom cabinet. If the lens is too far gone for toothpaste to fully fix, the next tip takes it a step further. Number 4. Use a headlight restoration kit before buying a new unit. Toothpaste handles light to moderate oxidation well, but some lenses are too far gone, deeply scratched, heavily pitted, or yellowed beyond what a simple polish can fix. That's usually where people give up and start pricing a full replacement housing. Before doing that, a headlight restoration kit is worth trying. These kits include several grades of sandpaper that cut through the damaged layer in stages, followed by a polishing compound that brings back clarity. It sounds aggressive sanding your headlights, but each finer grade smooths out the scratches left by the one before it until the surface is ready to polish clean. The whole process takes about 30 to 40 minutes per headlight and needs nothing more than a bucket of water. Kits typically cost under $20, compared to a replacement housing running anywhere from $100 to $400. There's one more step after this that most people skip, and skipping it is exactly why the results don't last. Number 3. Apply UV protective coating after cleaning. This is the step that decides whether everything from the last 2 tips actually holds up. Most people who restore their headlights are back to square one within a season, watching the haze creep back in and assuming the restoration just didn't work. The restoration wasn't the failure, the missing final step was. Once the outer layer of the lens has been sanded or polished away, the fresh plastic underneath has no UV protection left on it at all. Without something replacing that barrier, direct sunlight starts degrading the surface again almost immediately, and within a few months the lens looks nearly as bad as before. Wiping on a UV protective sealant right after restoration blocks that exposure and locks the clarity in. Most kits include one, but it's easy to skip in the final step. Standalone sealants cost just a few dollars and take under 5 minutes to apply, and that one step is the difference between results lasting 2 to 3 years or fading out before winter. Number 2. Adjust the headlight beam alignment. Sometimes everything checks out: clean lens, fresh bulb, no wiring issues, but night driving still feels dimmer than it should. In a lot of these cases, the headlights are working perfectly fine. They're just pointed in the wrong direction. Over time, road vibration and general wear shift the beam angle downward, so instead of lighting the road ahead, the headlights end up lighting the pavement right in front of the car. The fix is a small adjustment screw located behind or on top of the headlight housing. Park facing a flat wall about 25 feet away, mark the current beam height with tape, and use a screwdriver to bring the beam back up to the correct level. The difference in night visibility afterward is often big enough that drivers assume they installed brighter bulbs. It costs nothing and takes under 15 minutes. Number 1. Use baking soda paste for tougher oxidation. Toothpaste works well on mild yellowing, but for lenses with deeper oxidation, a slightly stronger abrasive gets the job done faster. Mix baking soda with a small amount of water until it forms a thick paste, then apply it to the lens the same way you would toothpaste, rubbing it in with a damp cloth using small circular motions, covering the entire surface evenly. Baking soda is a coarser abrasive than the compounds found in most toothpaste, which means it cuts through stubborn oxidation a bit more aggressively without needing a full sanding kit. Rinse the lens thoroughly once the haze starts lifting, and the clarity underneath comes through noticeably better than a toothpaste pass alone. It won't outperform a full restoration kit on severely damaged lenses, but for lenses sitting somewhere between mild and moderate oxidation, it's often the better first move. The cost is close to nothing, since most households already have a box sitting in the fridge or under the sink. And that's it. Now it's your turn. Try a couple of these on your own car and let us know in the comments which one surprised you the most.